So, in this part of the question, they say that Amir was playing ball on the field at noon. After getting tired, he moved under the shade of a tree. Ali's vision was dim and gradually lightens up. So, the first thing that you want to do for KBAT questions is that you want to make sure that you have the keywords highlighted. So, in the first question, it says to state the part of the eye that caused Ali's vision to change. So, this is the only thing that you need to focus on, part of the eye, nothing else, right? So, you want to just name the part, and then that is just a 1 mark question. In the next one, they say Amir moves to the field again. Moving to the field again means that he is now moving from the shade of the tree to a brighter region. And so what happens is the vision becomes glare. So this is an observation in science. They want you to explain. So this again is our keyword. So you want to highlight your keyword, explain. So in KBAT questions, whenever they ask you to explain, there are two forms of explanation that you may have to give. One is to explain why something happens, so your justification or your reason behind it, and the other is to maybe explain how something happens. So in this case, they want you to explain the changes that occurred in Amir's vision. So that would be the glare, right? You want to explain the glare. And so what you have to do is you have to make sure that you explain how this happens. Okay. So for answer for this one, this is the answer. So now in this answer, I've indicated a few things. So number one is when you're answering KBAT questions, you want to make sure that you always have a science term or science fact associated to your explanation. So almost 90% of the time, your explanation requires a science fact attached to it or associated to it. So in this case, since we are talking about the pupil, which is the part of the eye, I started my answer indicating the function of a pupil. So the pupil in the eye controls the amount of light that enters the eye. So this part is the facts, okay, that I'm listing down or I'm stating. And then in this case, what happens when the pupil controls the amount of light that enters the eye? So when Amir moved back into the sunlight, this is the scenario that was given by the question when they said that Amir moves to the field again. In the question, it said field, but when we are explaining, we want to think that they are talking about going back to the sun, right? Going back to an area that's brighter. So now you're moving from a dim area to a brighter area. So what will the pupil do? Since the pupil controls the amount of light that enters the eye, so then what does the pupil do? The pupil constricts. So the pupil constricted to reduce the amount of light entering the eye, causing the glare. So a few things I want to indicate here is number one, I I gave a reason of sorry, not a reason, but I gave an explanation on how the pupil reacted to the change in the scenario from moving from a dim area to a brighter area. The pupil constricted, so I explained how it happened, and then I also gave a reason to why did it constrict, to reduce the amount of light entering the eye. So this is my explanation. So I have my how, which is the constriction of the pupil, and then I have my why, which is to reduce the amount of light and that enters the eye, and that is what's causing the glare, right? So I also want you to um, pay attention that the ending of my answer, I end my answer with what the question has asked, right? The question has asked me to explain why the vision becomes glare. And so, after all my explanation, I end my sentence by saying that whatever that I explained, that's what's causing the glare. So, you kind of end your answer with the question that was given. So, that gives you a nice finishing touch to your answer. And then in the next one, it says that Amir's friend called him from outside the fence of the football field, but Amir did not hear the call. So they want you to suggest a way. So in this case, now you have to give a method or a way for Amir's friend to deal with the problem. And the problem is that Amir did not hear him call, right? Did not hear the call. So when Amir did not hear the call, what should he do? Again, you want to explain. So, as I said earlier, as I mentioned earlier, your explanation can be a how or it could be a why. So, whatever it is you want to explain in this case, you want to suggest the way, and then you want to also explain how that way is going to solve the problem that you have, right? How that way is going to solve the problem that you have. So, one of the ways that I've mentioned here one of the ways that I mentioned here is that Amir's friend could use his hands and put around his mouth like a funnel and shout louder. So, this is usually what we do, right? When we want to call out on someone who's a little bit further from us. And also, if he has a newspaper or a magazine with him, which is something that can easily be obtained, he could roll it into the shape of a cone and shout through it to cone or cylinder, whichever. And this is my way, my method, right? What I am going to do. So now I'm going to explain why do I choose to do that. Okay, right? So this would amplify his voice. I chose the word amplify because in our ear structure we have the ossicles which acts as an amplifier. So it amplifies the sound vibrations. So in this case, putting the hands around the mouth like a funnel or using the newspaper and rolling it into a cone or a cylindrical shape would amplify his voice. And amplifying the voice would mean that it makes the voice sound louder. And also the funnel shape or the cone shape or the cylinder shape of the newspaper, or putting the hand as a in the shape of a funnel, that would not only help to amplify the voice, it will also help direct the sound waves more towards Amir, so that Amir could hear his friend. And also another thing that I added is that he should also do some hand gestures, like waving his hands to get Amir's attention, because this would basically fall maybe in the blind spot region, where he might notice that there's some movement at the side of his eye, and that could help him notice that his friend is calling him. Yeah. So the next question, this is about the alveolus structure. So they're asking you to name one substance. So since they only want one substance, you only want to stick to that one substance that's harmful to the human respiratory system, not any other system. One of the easiest thing that you can say in this case, human respiratory system, the most common one that you can talk about is tar. And don't just say tar, but mention where this tar substance come from. So for in this case, I've mentioned tar from cigarette smoke. So I'm very, very clear with my example here. In the next question, um, they ask you to state the gases represented by X and Y. So if we go to our earlier question, you can see that the X, the arrow is pointing towards the blood capillary. So that means the air or the gas is moving from the alveolus into the blood capillary, and Y is from the blood capillary into the alveolus. So X should be oxygen, because oxygen diffuses from the alveolar structure into the blood capillaries, so that it can be transported by the red blood cells to all parts of your body. And the one that is coming from the red blood cells into the alveolus should be carbon dioxide, because it's going to go into the alveolus and then it's going to be exhaled out. So that's why the answer for X is oxygen and Y is carbon dioxide. And our final one here says that Ali has seen a doctor after experiencing chest pain, and the doctor has confirmed that he has lung cancer. So, based on your knowledge of science, what is the explanation that the doctor will give to Ali? So, there's something here in the English version that's not stated. is the part where Ali is a smoker, because here it's written Ali ialah seorang perokok. So that means that he's a smoker, and now he has lung cancer. And so the substance in cigarette smoke that causes lung cancer is the tar, which is kind of works very well with the earlier example that I've stated. And so this brings me to my next thing, which is that when you are answering KBAT questions, you want to kind of like skim through all the questions just to kind of give you a plan of what you would like to put as your answers, right? It gives you some sense of plan or a structure, so you know what's coming and you know how to plan out your answers properly. So in this case, I've said here that the doctor would probably tell Ali that the tar in the cigarette smoke he has been inhaling is the cause of his cancer. Now, just stating the first sentence without a proper explanation will not do the job. You will not get 3 marks. So you would have to explain that why the tar in the cigarette smoke is the cause of his cancer. So that's my next sentence where I'm going to explain this is because tar is a carcinogen. So carcinogens are substances that cause cancer. So tar is a carcinogen which cause cells to grow abnormally, which is another word of saying it's cancerous, right? So I'm being very, very clear with what the tar does, and I'm also being very clear to a patient in non-medical terms as what is the meaning of cancer, right? And also, as a doctor, the person would have to then also kind of give a solution or an advice of how he would improve his health. So, in order to improve his health condition, Ali would have to quit smoking. So, since tar is the cause of the lung cancer, he will have to do this if he wants to improve his health condition. So, this is just about enough to give you that 3 marks. So, as I always advise students, writing a little bit extra goes a long way. So, it's always better to write extra than to not have enough points in your answer. So, hope these questions were helpful. Bye.